with an unproven quarterback. You got a quarterback that has made big money, that has won SEC championships, that is 24-3. Your ass better be in Charlotte. Straight up. If it isn't, it better be some wonky ass explanation like last year. Miami is still in the college football playoff. They better have no more than one conference loss, if that. You look at this conference schedule, they should run through it. They should run through these teams from a composite talent rating. Miami is there. I know we have cautious optimism, but you also just had the #1 draft pick in the nation, and you got Carson Beck to replace him. You got athletes like you haven't had wearing this uniform in quite a long time everywhere on the damn field. Yeah, there are questions. There are very few perfect teams out there. Are we saying the expectation is to win a national championship? No, we are not. And we know that when Miami is fully back, that'll be the discussion. That'll be the expectation of Miami. But this is supposed to be the launch pad to that discussion next year. I look at this Miami team. I look at them as like they have a shot. The national championship is in Miami Gardens. So, hell, get to that game. We'll find out. But they're at the very least, they got to be considered a year away after this year, Pete. They got to be considered that.
The only thing I would push back on what you just said is that they should run through the ACC just because they've never gone unscathed through the ACC. So to say they should run through it when you have SMU on the road, Louisville is going to be a tough game. You don't know which team's going to emerge there that's going to be better than you think they are, like the Syracuse was last year. Obviously, Florida State on the road. So should they have no more than one loss in conference? I agree with that. But to say they should run through it, I think is a bit of a stretch.
We all know that the reality, the situation in the ACC is it's always going to be a lot tougher. Hell, even some good Clemson teams that went on to win a national title struggled in conference play. It's a weird conference. But in terms of the fight and the weight class, Miami's going up against teams with, and I know we don't play these games via composite talent ratings, but Miami is a more talented team in every single one of those teams that you've identified.
Let's go through this here. I want to jump in the schedule. Pete, how old were you in 2004 when we joined the ACC?
I was 10.
10. So you were 10. So since then, when we joined the ACC, we have not won it. So we do not need to be reminded that this is something that just hasn't happened. So there's always something to screw it up historically. So that's the reality that Miami's trying to overcome and reverse. The way the schedule stacks up, though, is favorable. You mentioned the home games. You start with 4. So that's just bizarre in itself, including Notre Dame and Florida, which those are your 2 top out-of-conference games. You want to play them at home. They're going to be full atmospheres because of the opponent. So that's going to be great as far as the way it's set up. Florida followed by Florida State, followed by Louisville is scary to me. Now, the one thing that is interesting about the way this sets up is you have a bye between Florida and Florida State, and you have a bye between Florida State and Louisville. I do worry about Florida State because of just the weird offense they play. Their quarterback, who stinks and is saying the dumbest things in the media, he at least is athletic enough that if he's having a good game, he can give you problems. And the way that the offensive scheme is set up,
he's got to survive that Alabama game.
Yeah, he might not be alive. We got to find out who their backup is. And then Louisville, they beat us last year, or we beat them last year, but they beat us last time they were in Hard Rock. They're going to always be tough. But again, at least you have a week to prepare for that offense. After that is where it gets interesting. So you got Stanford at home, which I think you have to win that game. And then we get to this stretch of ACC teams. And one thing I'll say about the ACC, and Stanford's ACC team too, but the better ACC teams, bowl caliber ACC teams. One thing I'll say about the ACC, Miami's been recruiting. If you look at Miami's recruiting rankings, we're battling the Big Ten, we're battling the SEC. And when we lose ground, we go, top 14 instead of top 10, right? It's cause for concern, and it is. But the truth is the ACC is falling further and further from that area every single class. And not only is the ACC struggling to recruit, we've had the best class in the ACC every year with Cristobal. Not only is the ACC struggling to recruit, but their portals situations, every year they lose more and get less. So you look at a team like Louisville.
That's not a sustainable business model.
No, well, go ahead.
New King God's asking why everyone hypes up Louisville so much. When was the last time they had a good defense? They seem to play Miami tough every year. So I don't know if it's hype. It's just what the history.
And I'm
shows.
with you. If we're gonna look over one ACC opponent, it's Stanford. But keep in mind, Stanford helped ruin Miami's playoff chances by beating Louisville, because
Right.
Louisville played a really impressive schedule. They dropped that really dumb game at Stanford, and it took away what would have been a ranked victory for Miami. Keep in mind what everybody was holding against Miami, which was the lack of marquee wins. That win against Louisville becomes ranked all of a sudden. The win against Duke would have been ranked too. Duke was the best team in the last 20 years, I think, to not end ranked. There was a lot of the top 25 is such an arbitrary point when Miami had like 3 wins inside the top 30. But continue. I'm sorry.
No, that's interesting fact. There you go. Kyle saying Louisville's more regular season wins last season than anyone in the ACC with 19. So yeah, you got to respect that. But if you look at these ACC teams, they lost more than they got. Louisville lost a lot of guys to the pros, and then they lost Tyler Shuck. They lost their best receiver.
Who's their
They lost
quarterback this
Ashton
year?
Gelati, Miller Moss. They brought him in.
yeah.
So that's a decent
The
pickup.
USC guy, right?
Yeah, it was okay. He's not as talented as Tyler Shuck.
He did lose his job though.
Tyler, by the way, those of you who listen to the podcast, we were saying, Pete, we said it from before the Louisville game. Tyler Shuck is better than a lot of quarterbacks that have a lot more hype. The Quinn Ewers of the world, all those guys who said Kyle Shuck put him on those teams and he's a superstar. Second round pick.
You said the same thing about Mendoza going into the into that game with them too.
I'm just saying.
I mean, you were on that one since high school, but
No, but we both said it.
Yeah.
We both said it. We're on both those guys.
Tyler Shuck is probably going to be starting week 1 for the New Orleans Saints.
Miller Moss is worse than those guys. He's a good, accurate passer. He's going to be good in this system, but talent-wise is a downgrade, and they lost some stuff on defense particularly. Then you go to Stanford, they're not good. SMU at SMU. They didn't bring in anybody really important in the portal except for Chris Johnson, who we know for a fact is going to have a 70-yard touchdown run against us.
No doubt.
But they lost a lot. And I don't know if the system, like if I'm playing Miami and I'm SMU, it's not a matchup I love because Miami is going to score a lot. So if you give them the ball a lot with this fast-paced offense, Miami's going to score a lot. And then on defense, Miami has enough pass rush that now they have defensive backs that can make plays. You kill a couple drives, and now there's separation. So, SMU, to me, their style's better against a team that maybe their offense isn't as good because they just kind of wear them out by getting so many possessions.
Mhm.
And then the other offense doesn't execute. Whereas I think a team like Miami that scores is going to be problematic for them. Major talent and difference there. Syracuse lost everybody in their passing game. Plus, they lost their running back who got drafted. They lost a ton of offensive linemen. They lost a ton. I like Steve Angeli, the quarterback they brought in, the backup from Notre Dame. I thought Tennessee should have gotten him. But still, you expect a big step back from Syracuse. They also lost a lot on the defensive side of the ball, which wasn't good to begin with. So they lost a ton of talent, and they've not really brought anybody. In fact, in the portal, forget the NFL while they lost. They lost their best defensive lineman in the portal to Texas, and they lost their best offensive lineman in the portal to, I believe, USC.
Yeah.
So they lost all of this to graduation at NFL, plus they lost in the portal, and they didn't add in the portal. They added guys that were 5 stars that maybe were bust. Like they added guys that were more projections as opposed to guys that are proven.
And added juice to that game. Not only did you lose to Syracuse last year, and they kept you out of the CFP. You want to avenge that loss, but Frugal Fran has been talking a lot. Frugal Fran talks.
I don't know if you can call him that after all the money he paid for this dude, Russell. So, but anyways, you go keep going down the schedule. NC State, I'm a little worried. It's at home, which is good, but that CJ Bailey's going to have like a ridiculous game against a team that didn't recruit him hard enough.
I have a prediction about that game.
Let's hear it.
After that game, a lot of Miami fans are going to be talking about him being the next quarterback at the University of Miami.
As long as it's a win for us, I'm fine with that outcome. But I do think they lost a ton. They lost your boy Concepcion.
Yep. Texas A&M.
They lost a great offense.
But I'm talking about it before the game. I already talked about it earlier this offseason.
Which one?
that he's
Bailey.
We had those saved.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Guys, we had timestamp those. But they lost their best offensive lineman to the NFL, second round pick, their left tackle, I believe. They lost some running back depth out to other teams. To what Raphael, I believe, went to Cal. On the defensive side of the ball, we took their best young defensive player in Kamal Bonner. He is now on the Miami Hurricanes. Their entire secondary left to other teams. USC. Where did Brandon Cisse go? He went to the SEC, I believe.
Yeah.
They lost their entire secondary to better programs.
And Dave Doran's been flirting with the all right, bleeper get off the pot type of scenario. NC State's right about where they should be as a program, but his resume suggests they keep failing just before taking that next step. And over the last few seasons, people have been worrying about his job. He always seems to do just enough to keep it, but I don't think we see anything different to expect from him. And that's later in the season. Who knows what type of scenario you're going to be running into. However, if Dave Doran's back's against a wall, that's again not an easy game. They play a tough, physical, solid defense. Thankfully, that game is at home. That game would have been really tricky if Miami was going to what is closest to an SEC type atmosphere in terms of just the sheer craziness from the fan base and the redneckiness of it all. Happy that game is in Miami Gardens.
They have their running back has one of the great names. Their running back has one of the great names in college football.
Who is it?
Hollywood Smothers.
Hollywood Smothers.
That's a generated name in CFB 26.
So you move on to Virginia Tech, another team, again, they lost more than they gained, both NFL-wise and also to the portal. So you look at Virginia Tech, they were more talented last year than I think people think. So Tootin, who killed us, the running back, goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jalen Lane, wide receiver, goes to Washington. Dorian Strong, defensive back, goes to Buffalo.
Man.
Antoine Powell-Ryland, who remember gave Markel Bell a lot of problems early in his tenure at Miami.
Those are really effective players against Miami.
Killed us. Aeneas Peebles, too, which is an undersized defensive tackle. Both these guys at the college level, very good pass rushers. He went to the NFL. So you lose all those guys. Then you look at the portal. Their left tackle, I believe his name is Chapin. I'm not pronouncing it right. Xavier, the big left tackle they had.
Oh, Xavier Chaplin. Yeah.
Chaplin. He went to Auburn, and he was like probably the best tackle or one of the best tackles in the portal. They lost an interior lineman to LSU, who was one of the key pieces of LSU's transfer class. So they lose up front guys, like guys that were not just like, hey, these are backups that are going to these other schools. These are priority portal guys that LSU and Auburn took to be cornerstones of their teams. Like they're the best linemen on those teams, which of course are better teams than Virginia Tech. Talked about all this stuff they lost up to the draft. In the secondary, Mansour Delane, their best, most talented defensive back, goes to LSU. The safety Stroman goes to Notre Dame. We're going to see him the first week.
Mm-hmm.
So they got crushed in the portal. The only guy they brought back was the quarterback, who very talented, but has been banged up. I don't think he played very much, Drones, in spring because he had so many injuries. So Virginia Tech has been decimated, but at Virginia Tech, it's November 22nd. It's going to be cold. Pittsburgh, just repeat everything I said about they lost a lot. They bring back the quarterback who's banged up, and then it's also on the road cold.
You look at those three games, physical opponents, historically tough places to play at with the two road games for Miami, especially. We all get Evan Sheriff's PTSD looking at that that last game after Thanksgiving at Pitt. But these are coaches that if they're not on the hot seat, they're close to it. And if they get off to slow starts this season, I'd bet dollars to donuts that one of these three head coaches aren't going to be coaching this game. And who knows what you have. Maybe you have a team that galvanizes around an intern guy and then it ends up blowing up in your face. Or you can more than likely have a team that is checked out on the season, has already started looking up their next destination, where they're going to go in the transfer portal. So I do think Miami will be the benefactor of some coaches that are constantly talked about in terms of job security.
Yep. Then they couldn't, maybe they're not even the coach for those games.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'll say too about those, like people say historically, Miami struggles in these cold road games. Very true. Here's one thing I'll say that's different about this era of Miami. We just more size, more physicality up front. I think to a game like Boston College. Remember we played Boston College at the end of the 23, and we just completely ran all over him. It was a joke. Now we did have some trouble with Rutgers, but that was more, I think, quarterback driven. Plus we were just kind of out of it at that point.
Portal, because so many people sat out.
Yeah, that was
that bowl game,
and we still had a chance to win at the end, but that was a tough one. But I think in general, you have stuff to play for. You're playing Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh. We're just so much. They're quicker fronts. We are so much bigger up front with our tailbacks, with our offensive linemen. I could just see us if cold weather's giving Carson Beck problems or whatever. I think those are the games where you just pound it and really rough it up. But look, Tech has played a lot of important November games, much more than our team has. So, yeah, man, I feel pretty good about the way the schedule stacks up. We know the history. We know how these things go versus paper versus reality. But I think in terms of how it shakes out, I can't complain.
D, you just did a pretty deep dive. Now, can we answer the question? Make or break?
Yeah. I mean, make or break. It's got to be, I think you need double-digit wins. And I think really what you need is a playoff appearance. That's really what this is all about. look, if Carson Beck gets injured, God forbid, or something crazy happens like that, it becomes tougher. You got to, but you still, I think the truth is, man, even with Carson Beck injured, God forbid, let's just say he has a hamstring and misses games, nothing catastrophic. And you're like here, like, let's say you're in the Louisville, Stanford, SMU, you can win some of these, most of these games just by running the ball.
And I know Emory was put in a pretty tough